What's up, everybody? We're the Supernaturals.
What's up?
That's Jake. I'm Cal. We are your hosts. Welcome to another episode. Now, you might be wondering why the lights are blue. For our audio listeners, they're blue.
Yeah, if you can't see,
If you can't see, well,
they're blue.
there is something.
And if you're colorblind, hopefully you can see it's blue.
There's a reason why they're blue. There's something here on the table that is a good takeaway.
It might be a little blurry, but
It might be a little blurry, but we thought it was cool.
What do we talk about today?
Well, a movie that comes out for you guys in literally 2 days.
True. Very true.
We're talking about the new Alien movie. Well, kind of. We're going to talk about Aliens as a franchise. That's why the lights are blue, because xenomorphs are blue. Well, they're black, but like bluish. So,
But their blood is green acid.
yeah, it's true. We could have also have done green. That's fine. But blue is just.
I was thinking we were going to do green, but then we did green the last episode.
Yeah.
So we changed it up. It's
Tough.
fine.
Thought you guys would like a different change anyway. Blue works, right? It's fine.
And we haven't done this color yet. So
No, exactly. So,
we're rolling with it. So fuck you if you can't vibe with us.
God damn. Okay. Well, no. So, chill out now. Sure you ain't got a chest burster in you? You're acting a little weird.
You want to put the x-ray up to me?
Dude, that scene is sick. Okay, so we'll talk about all that. But yeah, if you're like me, I should say, I'm a big Alien fan. I bought, the collector's editions and all that kind of shit. I like Alien a lot.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Movies.
And then
Franchise.
Yeah, it's a good franchise, classic franchise. Influenced a lot of stuff, a lot of horror.
Been around since 79.
Yep. And
Crazy.
Has some good actors in it. Every movie's got, Sigourney Weaver was in the first 4 of them.
Yep.
And then it took a weird turn with, another franchise, which we'll talk about a little bit. And then, yeah, I don't know. So we're just going to talk about Alien today. So if you...
I don't think it was that weird of a turn.
No, I actually think it was, I like when, I'm a big Marvel fan, so I like when franchises kind of cross over and stuff, but the movies could have been better.
Yeah.
The movies definitely could have been better. I would like to see a new take on it, like today.
Sure.
But again, we'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing is, let's, Alien is a sci-fi horror movie. 1979, directed by Ridley Scott, or I should say Sir Ridley Scott. He was knighted, actually. So
really,
yeah, you have to say that now. Sir Ridley Scott.
Crazy.
Ridley Scott. He's a good director, man. He does a lot of good shit. So,
oh yeah, you could tell throughout the series that he just got better and better.
Yeah,
with technology just growing, he adapted.
He produced all of them,
well,
but he only directed the first Alien. And then he directed Prometheus and Alien Covenant,
which I enjoy.
we'll get there. So in order for this, Jake is not really a big Alien fan, right? You're not like
I'm not, no.
avid, fan of the franchise.
No, this was the first time I saw a couple of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's seen one here and there, but not really like anything, not all of them, whatever. But so I was like, you know what, for this episode, let's watch the
well, first off, it was my idea, but yeah,
okay, the episode itself was Jake's idea, but the idea of watching the movies was my idea. So yes, it was definitely a good call. It built some hype for the
new one's coming out. We're gonna go see it.
Yeah, opening night.
It's gonna be fun.
Yep. We'll post a review on our socials after we go see the movie. So that'll be kind of fun. And then, it'll be sweet. So in order for this, or, to prepare for this episode, I had Jake watch Alien, the very first one. Aliens, the second one, directed by James Cameron. Yes, Titanic, James Cameron. What
and
do they
Avatar.
say? What do they say in Rick and Morty? Would you like a plate of James Cameronian rings? And then I fast forwarded a little bit. And then we watched Prometheus and then Alien Covenant, which was the last Alien movie to release. So kind of in the, like, I guess, search of a, well, let me go back. We're going to talk about just cosmic horror as a genre, because that's really what this kind of spawned. I know Ridley Scott said he took inspiration from Star Wars, the first Star Wars movie, when he was making Alien.
Well, I mean, it looks like the space shots look similar-ish to
he used
Star
miniatures
Wars.
and things like that, you know, so it does look like Star Wars. But the difference is he wanted to build a sense of dread in that world, you know, as opposed to like hope and, you know, what's out there in space. He wanted to be like, space is a scary fucking place, and I want to make sure that the audience knows that, which I think is pretty cool. Because, I mean, shit, dude, if you start researching space like enough, like I've definitely like dove down the rabbit hole a few times in like of space, and you get freaked out. Like, you get pretty freaked out. You start learning about different planets that are like just insane. You start, you know, learning about,
there's so much out there.
there's so much that we can't even
wild.
explain.
I
It's
mean, they're
crazy.
finding new potential life on other planets that are light years away, but like
Yeah.
showing signs of, you know, living organisms and potential water. It's just crazy.
And who's to say though that one of those organisms isn't a face hugger in an egg
True. Very true.
that spawns a xenomorph?
We don't know.
Which Alien has, whether you've seen the movies or not, you probably know what is, like, maybe not by name, but you know, like, what the xenomorph is, right? Like, you've seen the xenomorph.
It's iconic.
It's iconic. It's one of the best designed
Kudos to that guy.
creature designs I've ever seen in my entire life.
The double mouth is OP.
Well, so is the acid blood.
Yeah.
That's what Jake kept saying the whole time. He's like, the acid blood is so bullshit.
Well, it's just a crazy defensive mechanism
Yeah.
that even if you shoot them or cut them, you're probably getting hurt.
Yeah.
If not gonna die.
Yeah, and then if the alien's on the ship, which it happens to be at like every at the
It
end
gets
of
on-
every,
it gets
it
on-
always gets on the ship.
Wait. We need a spoilers.
Ah, fuck yeah, I forgot. All right. Yes, for this review, before we start diving into these movies, if you haven't seen them, please go watch them, and then come back and listen to us.
You might not have to watch everyone. That's a
No,
lot,
but you might dive down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole. But oh shit. Anyway, that being said, spoiler.
Thank you.
For all of these, by the way, for
Yeah,
every
yeah.
for like every
It's
fucking
a
movie.
one spoiler time.
It's a one spoiler type of thing. Yes. So in Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, which is pretty cool. It was
super 80s hair.
she's known as, well, Ripley.
Yeah.
She's known as one of the best like final girls in horror. I mean, she really is. She's a badass.
She is.
She's a grade A badass.
She is.
And the first movie was, I mean, the genre, or I mean, the fucking franchise itself has gone in a bunch of different directions, really. And starting with Alien in 1979, it was a kind of isolation type, movie, right? It was, the alien was on board, and then they,
it's shot in one place.
it's just the ship, and the alien's on the ship, and then it picks them off one by one. You don't really see the alien very much, the xenomorph, and then it's basically ends with Ripley and Jonesy the cat versus the xenomorph.
Very good usage of lighting, actually, on the alien, I think.
Yeah, well, you like barely saw it.
I know.
Yeah, which is cool. But you saw it enough, I guess, so that is cool.
But he was very specific when you saw it. He didn't just show it all over the place. It was like certain scenes, it was hidden.
Yeah.
It was hidden a lot, actually.
The one at the end where it's like the head is like one of the pipes.
Yeah.
And then it starts moving and it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just very good usage of lighting,
Yeah.
being able to hide it in plain sight. It was really brilliant.
So if you don't know, the lifespan, I guess, of the alien is that it starts as an egg. Then usually in every movie, some poor fool goes over to the egg, and then the face hugger, which you've probably also seen, it's a crab looking thing with like a tail, and it jumps on your face, right? And then
And then wraps around your neck.
Wraps around your neck, holds on for dear life, and then it's really gross because the thing that looks like a dick comes out, goes down your throat, and then puts an egg in you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that's done, the face hugger literally lets go and just dies off.
Yep, that's its whole
serves,
purpose.
Serves its purpose.
That's it.
They actually make fun of that in Rick and Morty. That
True,
one episode.
Yeah. That is a funny episode. Yeah. One thing about them is they also have acid blood.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is also that, so that even if they get cut on the face, they will just blow out acid onto whatever is touching them.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy, crazy thing.
You can't make an alien movie without having a chest bursting scene. So what happens is the egg like incubates, or the embryo, whatever it is, it incubates inside of a living being.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it will, start to grow, and then it needs to get out of you. So therefore you start freaking out, and then it pumps out of your chest,
mm-hmm.
and then you die, and then it comes out, and then it grows, and it becomes a xenomorph.
Exponentially fast.
Yes, very fast. Very, very fast.
All of a sudden, it's a full-size xenomorph, in like a matter of minutes.
It's true, man. Yeah, that thing grows. So, the first one was it was a very self-contained story.
Really driven by the acting.
Yeah. And it was a bit of a slow burn, but it's more of like, I'm sure audiences at the time when they were watching it, they're just like, where's the alien? Where is he? Like, you're trying to look everywhere for him. And
because the movies take a while to get to when the aliens actually come on screen.
Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah. Because you do try to build up whether it's camaraderie between the passengers of the ship, or,
mm-hmm.
Like they try to build up characters, a storyline. I will give Alien credit. It's not just like, here's a bullshit like storyline and here's like just a reason for aliens to be there. It's like, it actually tries to be like a good story.
Yeah. I loved the idea of them waking up from hypersleep because they have to go investigate this signal.
Yeah.
That happens in most of the movies, right?
It does.
If not all of them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the third one, but
yeah, third one is, I'll dive into that in a second.
But like it gives it purpose, and it makes sense of why they're awakened, and that's their like duty.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
No, it is. I agree too. And the first one is very character driven for sure, but really the only character that I thoroughly enjoy in the first one is Ripley, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's basically just her, trying to survive, and she ends up being the only survivor, like I said, and other than Jonesy the cat. Mm-hmm. And once they kill the alien, take him out in the airlock.
Always pushing them out into space.
Well, that's actually something I want to talk about too. You were talking about the acid.
It's
blood.
a good way to get rid of them.
Well, you have to get rid of them that way, because if you shoot them like on the ship, their blood is just going to leak through, like it's going to melt through the whole fucking ship.
It does eventually stop, but 3-4 levels deep.
Exactly. So really, it kind of depends. I'm not trying to take that chance, right?
No,
like,
100%.
I'm going to put the alien in the airlock, and adios.
Just shoot them off into space. Into a void.
So I have a couple little fun facts that I found on the first one. Well, really, before I get there, do you have any, like, what was your favorite moment in the first movie?
Come back to me.
Okay. Well, really quick. So one of the fun facts that I found was when you first see the eggs, mm-hmm. right, and they have like those blue like lasers trying to show like the fog layer or whatever. So those blue lasers, like the lights, were actually borrowed from the band The Who was preparing for a show at a soundstage next door.
Interesting.
And they wanted to test it out. So then they were like, hey, do you have any need for these? And they're like, yeah, we'll put them in a thing. Another one is that shredded condoms were used to create the tendons on the xenomorph's jaw. Which, I mean, hey, that's 80s for you, right? Like you always, you don't have the CGI. You don't have you have to make it work, right? So that's cool. It looked real.
I've got my answer.
What?
When the AI guy attacks Ripley. That scene is just wild.
It is
because it was like
She's
the first time you get to see
around.
like the like synthetic blood come
Yeah.
out of that dude, and
It
you're like,
always looks
oh
like
shit,
milk.
what the hell? Yeah,
Yeah.
milk. It's straight milk.
It's just milk.
And you're like, what the hell? This guy's an AI. He let the alien in on purpose.
Yep.
These AIs are fucked.
Yep.
They're all bad. They're all bad.
all the AIs except for like Walter. Are bad. So
that we know of.
that we know of. Yeah. So,
but yeah, I think that was one of my favorite scenes is when he was attacking her and they had to come like kind of rip him off of her, and it was just a wild scene.
the crazy thing is when I forgot his name. The one dude, he took like the bat and hit him, and the whole head just, and his head's just like dangling, and he's just like,
He's still trying to attack.
yeah. No, that is crazy. Yeah, the AIs are wild for sure. They're almost as bad as xenomorphs, man.
It's true. However, I will want to talk about the AIs when we get to Prometheus and Covenant, because
Yes.
I've got some crazy stuff that I like about them there.
Yes,
But
I
we'll
agree.
jump back to that in a bit. But yeah, that's my favorite scene of that movie.
So yeah,
That was good.
Alien. What would you give it?
A 7.3.
7.3.
7.3.
Okay. I give the first Alien an 8. Still to this day. I used to, love it. Like I'd give it like a 10, but as
Hey,
I've
and don't
grown and seen more movies and things like that,
Don't come at me for my 7.3. It's just a preference, okay? It's just a preference.
Oh, man, yeah. Please don't. We're just watching
It's just an
movies here.
opinion.
It's just an opinion.
If you like
have to get
Alien,
mad.
sick. If you like it, sick. Personally, not my favorite horror type, but wasn't a bad movie
Yeah,
at all.
Yeah. Are you a believer or are you a knower? Anyway,
They might be out there. They might be out there.
Xenomorphs? How dare you don't believe there's xenomorphs? I saw one.
Ha.
Anyway, so yeah, there's our actually I want to say one more fun fact. There's a scene where the one guy with the Hawaiian shirts, he is walking through, and all the chains and shit. And the alien's just right there. Like he's just, the xenomorph is just like chilling, like in the chains. And he's trying to find a cat. And he's like, hey, Jonesy, what's up, cat? And the cat looks at him.
Oh, that is a sick scene.
Yeah, the cat looks at him. And then all of a sudden, like the xenomorph drops behind the guy. And then the cat hisses and like runs away. And then, the guy dies. But the thing I found about it was that in order for them to get the cat to stay there and hiss like he did, they filmed the cat shots obviously separate, and they had a screen where behind the screen was a German Shepherd, which, my favorite dogs. And the cat would like be chilling, like, whatever, and they'd film it. And then all of a sudden they lifted the screen of the screen, and then the German Shepherd was there, and the cat just like hissed and was like, so just kind of a cool way they filmed the cat to like.
I wonder
hiss.
how long that took to get those little cuts, because
I don't know.
the backing up was pretty sick, and the hiss, I was just like, damn, they got that cat to hiss at that big.
Yeah.
I was like,
cool.
wow, that was cool.
Because cats, aren't that you can't really train them like you do dogs, right?
Right.
Like a
You
dog,
gotta cause
could be
them
like,
to do something.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So there's Alien, which it was good.
Not a bad movie.
Now we go to a vastly different style. James
Completely.
Cameron takes up the reins in Aliens, which when the fuck did it release? 1986?
87.
1986 here, which is crazy.
Was it 6?
Yeah, it was 1986.
I could have swore it was 7. But
1986, which is crazy because that's like almost, what is that, 8 years later?
yeah,
That's insane.
to make
That's so
a sequel,
insane. Yeah.
but not directed by the same person.
Uh-huh. No, that's
pretty wild.
That's freaking wild, man. Yeah.
Well,
so
it was clear when you watch more James Cameron movies that he spawned a lot of ideas from that and stemmed a lot of like his Avatar lookings,
Yeah. Well,
like machines
especially
and stuff,
we'll talk
the
about that. But
exoskeleton suits.
I just want to know, why did it take so long for them to release another Alien movie? Because the first Alien was successful, and it spawned a lot of shit.
Maybe they just didn't have an idea at the time.
Maybe they wanted to do what James Cameron did with Avatar 2 and just wait for
let it breathe.
Well, also wait for technology to get better because it
True.
did look better.
It did.
It did
Yeah.
feel better, right? It was more advanced.
That's true. Back in 79, they probably didn't have a lot of things.
Yeah. So,
But they made the best out of it. So
Aliens, it was basically, you know, it starts with Ripley waking up with the cat and, you know, they're in cryospace or whatever. And then, you know, her company, Wayland Corp or whatever, they're like the bad guys. They're like the Umbrella Corporation or whatever in Alien. They're like always the bad corporation.
Always
Anyway.
sending them to do bullshit.
Yeah. So they basically are like, hey, you know, they wake her up and they go, you've been asleep for like 50 years. And they're like, you know, what did you see? And she's like, oh, there's an alien and all this kind of stuff. And
they didn't believe
they
her.
didn't believe her at all.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, you just can't go back to that planet. And they're like, we've been there for like a while. Like we've been there for like 30 years or something. And she's like, what the fuck? So then some shit happens. There was an event that happened there, and this one douche,
He's all about the money, bro.
one little asshole fucking.
He's like, if I don't see a dollar sign, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, he's very manipulative. So
Fuck that guy.
he basically told Ripley like he could get her a better job if she joins and stuff. And there's going to be a bunch of like, you know, Marines there and stuff. And so he talks her into it, and they go, and then they find a kid. Well, first you meet all the Marines, which, you know, they were all pretty funny. Bill Paxton is one of them. Game over, man. Game over. So they just meet a bunch of them. And then they basically find out that, you know, shit hit the fan. There's acid blood, you know, residue in the in the ship and stuff, or on the base. And yeah, she's like, okay, well,
she's like, I've seen this before.
Yeah, she's like, we're kind of fucked. And then they find a little girl, Newt,
On board, yep.
And she's like, I have nightmares and all this kind of stuff. And
Rebecca.
it's Newt. Anyway, she says it. She goes, my friends call me Newt, or like everybody calls me Newt.
I know.
So it's Newt. Anyway, so yeah, and then basically there's just like you know, you're thinking, okay, it could still be like the first Alien, right? Little horror and stuff like that, which like it kind of was, but it turned into like action horror. There's aliens coming everywhere, and they're just
literally like
blowing
towards
them
the
up.
end of the movie, it's just like 60 plus coming after her.
Yeah, they're the coolest scene. I'll say my
wild.
favorite moment right now. The coolest. There's a scene where they like built this barricade, and they're all in this little like room, and they like look at the it's like a heartbeat sensor from like Warzone, right? And it's all of a sudden these, you know, they got like, okay, there's one, and then oh man, there's two, and then it's just like a fucking Christmas tree, like lit up, like coming at them, and they're like, oh my god, they're coming, and then that whole scene where it's like you're waiting for them to come through the door. And then they're like, wait, they're on top of us. And you're like, how can, like, they're in the room with us. What the hell? And then the guy looks up, like he opens up the thing, like on the roof or whatever on the ceiling. And they're all crawling at him. I was like, damn. Yeah, it was good.
That was a cool scene.
So what's the guy? They all die other than Ripley, Newt, and I think the other guy's name is Hicks. And then their AI. That's a good AI. The one that was in the thing with them. You remember he was like crawling in the little tube and shit? Yeah, he was actually a good one. Because remember, she thought like he left.
That's true. He was really good at flying.
And then he came back.
He was a good pilot.
So he was a good one. He was fuck, I forgot his name. But either way, he was a good one. And
yeah, I can't remember his name either, but he had a big forehead.
Yeah, so yeah, that was fun.
But he was like flying and dealing with that ship for like the last fourth of the movie.
Yeah, he was. 100%. Yeah, so they all live or whatever, but not before Ripley she goes down to save Newt because Newt gets captured by the aliens.
Her standoff is my favorite scene.
Yeah, it's your favorite.
It's so cool.
So if you haven't seen Aliens, you probably know the line or have heard the line, but Ripley gets in. Well, she finds the queen alien. You find out how the eggs are made.
She's just plopping them.
Yeah, plopping big ass like
down
tube
the line
on the backside of the queen alien, the queen xenomorph, and Yeah, she's like shitting out eggs, and then
Well, they looked at each other and they both kind of agreed. They were just like, let each other be.
Yeah, Ripley has a flamethrower, and like she's in the area with all the eggs, and then the queen's like looking at her, and she's like, I'm gonna burn these fucking eggs if you're not careful. And then the queen's like, okay, all right, like it's all good. And then you see the other xenomorphs kind of like dipping out, and then all of a sudden Ripley's just like, fuck it, started blowing them. And then the queen gets pissed. She rips off the tube thing. And then she starts chasing after Ripley. And so then it comes down to a showdown where Ripley, she puts a Newt like away. And then she gets in one of these, like, it literally is like from Avatar. One of the,
it is similar to a mech exoskeleton suit, but it's just like, it's almost like a walking
forklift.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. So she gets in that shit. And then the music cuts. She comes out, this big reveal, and she goes, "Get away from her, you bitch." Like one of the best fucking lines, dude.
Yeah. And then they have their showdown.
Yep. And then what, doesn't the queen get on board, or does she not? Or was that on board? That was on board, wasn't it? The queen did get on board, didn't she?
No. So they dealt with the queen, and then when they had the dude that got his face melted by the acid, he had an egg inside of him, and his chest exploded again.
Yes.
Can't have no chest explosions.
And then that was our second get him out of the airlock.
Yep, right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. That was fun. So Aliens, what would you give it?
It's like a 7.7.
To me, it's like an 8.5. I do love Aliens. It's good. It's a good movie. Really,
it is one of the best in the franchise for sure.
I do just watch it strictly for that line at the end. That line is so sick, dude. So really quick, fun fact. Sigourney Weaver actually was nominated for the Best Actress Oscar, which was the first ever time an actress in a role in a sci-fi movie ever was nominated.
Really?
Yeah. So
but she didn't win.
She didn't win, but she did get nominated, which is pretty cool.
I mean, being a nomination's huge too.
Mm-hmm. And then
not discrediting nominations at all.
Yeah. And then the one of the cool things was, movies aren't really shot in chronological order. Right. Like they're,
they always like going
and stuff.
Well, yeah, true.
So the scene where you meet all of the Marines and, they're kind of like shitting on each other and stuff, like talking shit. That was actually one of the last scenes filmed. And James Cameron wanted that because he wanted them to actually have built up like chemistry,
so they could have
was
like a more
natural.
real,
when they like
that's
had
cool.
That. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, you're working on a movie for 6 months, a year, right?
Yeah, and you're bound to
be friends with some.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can easily give them shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that's a cool idea.
So, if you're like me and you like the Alien franchise, Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are not your favorites. Alien 3 might be. Alien 3 is, it has good moments. It's actually directed by, David Lynch. He's the guy who did Seven. You know that movie with Brad Pitt and like Morgan Freeman?
Mm-hmm.
You know that one?
Yep.
Yeah. So he did that. And the movie, now a lot of people, including me, don't like how the last movie ended with them all getting away, right? And then they wake up and Ripley is on another planet with, it's like a bunch of prisoners. It's like this big ass like prison on like a fucking like desert ass planet.
She just can't get away from this shit.
No. And yeah, of course there's aliens there and all this kind of stuff. And obviously I'm going to just jump through this plot. But the thing that really pisses me off is that Newt dies just for no reason. Like the little girl, they show like all of like the cryopods, and then it shows one, and there's like this girl, and it says like unidentified like female, and it says like estimated age like 12.
She died at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
so she gets a Dave Franco to her.
James Franco.
Yeah, god damn. I
Pretty
like
much.
Dave. Yes, James. My fault.
Pretty much. We'll get to that later.
True.
But yeah, so Newt just dies. She doesn't survive the cryo sleep, which is just like, in my opinion, kind of a easy way to not have Newt be a part of the third movie. They probably were writing it and they were like, we just have to keep worrying about this little girl. We don't want to do that. So we're just going to kill her. So a lot of us who liked Newt and Aliens, yeah, she's just dead now. So R.I.P. Newt. And then at the end of the movie, basically all these prisoners die by a bunch of aliens and shit. It's a whole thing. And at the end of the movie, Ripley actually dies.
Interesting.
Yeah, she sacrifices herself and stuff to finish off the aliens. And it's like, oh, it's supposed to be the end of the franchise. Well, it got a lot of money despite mid reviews. So they're like, oh, well, we're going to do another one. So then here comes Alien Resurrection, where guess what? Resurrection, meaning they resurrected Ripley. They made like a clone of her or some shit. And then it's
really?
it was
interesting idea.
My least favorite movie.
Interesting idea.
Yeah, there's like if I remember
correctly. Seems to be not executed great.
No,
so.
If I remember correctly, they like breed Ripley with like an alien.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
Why?
so there's like a humanoid alien running around, like it has like an actual skull.
That's so weird.
Yeah, like, it's not good. It's not good. So that's why we didn't watch it.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm glad.
If you're a Resurrection fan out there, sorry. I'm not really a fan. So, but more power to you.
It seems like it just like strayed away from the whole like idea. Yeah. Exactly.
So then
it's like we finished each other's sentence.
People were like me. They didn't like it. So they put Alien on hiatus for a little bit until
AVP.
Well, first, the Predator franchise started taking off, which I would love to talk about on this podcast because I'm a huge Predator fan.
Probably we might do it in a bonus episode, though.
We'll see.
No, in a bonus episode. We need some bonus episodes.
But basically, in Predator 2, the guy, what the fuck's his name? God damn it. Anyway, it takes place in the city. And so it's like a completely different thing than the first one. And he ends up basically at the end of the movie, he goes into the Predator's trophy room. So you see all these skulls on the wall. Mm-hmm. And people were like, wait a minute. What is that long ass fucking skull? Like, what is that? Like, that's a xenomorph like skull. What the hell? And nothing came from that until later. Was it the mid 90s or something? Late 90s, when they came out with Alien vs. Predator. Mm-hmm. So, Alien vs. Predator, rated PG-13. It was okay. Kind of mid.
Okay.
Kind of mid.
Like a 6.2 movie.
Yeah. It was okay. Then 2006 or 2007 or something, Alien versus Predator AVP Requiem came out. And I'm going to get some fucking heat for this, but I actually enjoy that one.
I've actually never seen that one.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
We should watch it tonight. I'm not kidding. It's
maybe not tonight, but eventually.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a classic 80s horror movie. The acting is so ass. And then I think my favorite part though is that they do breed an alien with a predator. Like the predator has a chest burster, and then it comes out, and so it's a xenomorph, but it has like the jowls of like a predator and shit. And and that thing was like chasing him, but the movie was bloody as hell. The acting was just ass, but you're rooting for these aliens to just like kill these fucking people. And it's I don't know. It's not a good movie by any definition of the word, but it's.
Would you put it in the same category as like a Freddy versus Jason movie?
Yeah. Same shit. Yeah. I probably
no one asked for it, but they got it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I don't know. So we're not going to really talk about Alien versus Predator very much because they were kind of mid movies, but then again, Alien went on hiatus for a while until 2012 when Ridley Scott took the reins back, and luckily, thankfully, because then the Alien franchise wasn't such a piece of shit anymore. Like it wasn't like, kind of midness. He did try to do some experimental shit that I know a lot of people didn't like.
He did.
But
I love an origin story though, dude.
That's what he did. He wanted to kind of figure out, he wanted to do a trilogy about these origins of the xenomorph. And yeah, here comes Enter Prometheus, right?
Yeah.
So
I liked the movie.
Tell them about Prometheus.
Oh, Prometheus is the name of the ship. Their mission is to.
That's often the thing, isn't it?
What?
Well, I mean, Prometheus was the name of the ship.
Yep.
Covenant was the name of the ship.
Right.
And I'm assuming Romulus is probably the name of the ship.
I would assume so. I would assume so. You know, they were tasked with a mission to go into this planet and checking out things because they had a scientist on board. And that scientist had claimed that they found some sort of activity in life on there. And they were
Shaw's husband, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going to check it out. And they get together this whole mission. They go to the planet, investigate.
Well, the whole point is that they're trying to find who created humans.
Right.
Because
they
Wayland,
do. They find who created humans.
Yes. So Wayland, the company guy, the head of the company, he is getting old as shit, and he basically wants to, before he dies. Well, he says he's long dead, but the whole point of it is he's not. Spoiler, he's not. He's fucking alive, and so the whole point of it is that he's trying to figure out how he can keep living. That's something that
he wants like eternal life.
Yeah, and you see that too with the little conversation he has with David in Covenant. It's like the look on his face when David was like, "You're human. You're gonna die."
Exactly.
I'm not. He's like, "Fuck."
Yeah, he's not an AI. So
he wanted to find the answers and see how he could pretty much get immortality, and who are you going to ask? Your creators. Right. So that's what he recruited these scientists to basically find them. So,
and they do find the proof of it.
Well, everyone's shocked. Donut ship.
Everyone's shocked as shit.
Yeah. There's a big donut ship in like all the Alien movies. So that's a big thing.
It's true. Shit goes awry and people start getting sick.
Yep. Well, there's a virus, right? So the whole point is that these people, or because
they find
aliens,
that giant dome, and then they go inside it.
Yeah,
they map the whole thing out, which is so cool. Like they send the little, like, what does he call them? I didn't know. It's
little
like
beacons or whatever. Yeah,
like he called them his pups or something, something like that. But they like map out the whole like tunnel system. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Really cool use of technology there. And that was 2012. That's great. That just blew my mind. But yeah, I don't know. They eventually stumble upon these alien things.
The little serpent things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They get into you.
Fuck those two guys up, didn't they?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's wild.
There's these little like snake things. They're pretty much
like in like almost like a mercury type of substance.
Yeah, they're kind of like face hugger, like 1.0s.
Yeah,
right. Like, and they wraps onto this guy's arm, breaks his arm, and then goes through the hole, and so it's like just inside of him, and then it comes out of his mouth, and then like chokes him to death.
Yep,
crazy. The other one tries to like stab it, but then acid gets on his face, and then it melts his helmet into his skin. So crazy.
I wouldn't necessarily call them face huggers though, because they don't.
No,
they're not laying it.
Fucking does this shit.
True.
Right? Like the little like.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
like opens like a
face snakes.
Yeah.
Call them face snakes.
Like a stingray almost. The bottom of a stingray.
And then enter David.
Fuck.
Prometheus's AI.
I do want to say something about it though.
Michael Fassbender,
great actor,
dude, so good.
But how they're directed and they're acting as AI in the movie, is so fucking good that you actually kind of believe that they're fucking not real.
Yeah,
it's just it blows your mind because they're like they talk like super like robotic and to the point, and it's just their movements are like so stellar that are like, that's not a human. Yeah, and then it really drives it home when they start spewing milk. Once again, more milk.
Yep. No, so David, he kind of has this beef with the main scientist, Shaw's husband, because Shaw's husband is like, you're not a real boy and all this kind of stuff, and David is. Well, he's a little too human, right? That's his problem, is that he's a little too human. He's focused on.
He almost feels emotion.
And all this kind of stuff. So basically, David gets the virus, puts it in the doctor. It's not like confirmed, but it definitely happened. And then.
And you see it in his eye in the one scene after they get intimate.
So basically, a infected Shaw's husband. I forgot his name, but he hooks up with his wife, you know, as you do. Elizabeth Shaw. And they hook up. So that's it. Cool. But then the next day he wakes up, looks in the mirror, and all of a sudden there's a little like worm in his eye, and he's like, oh shit. So they go out, do some more exploring, and then he comes back. He's sick as shit, just dying. And then fucking Charlize burns his ass.
Yeah, he just lets him.
Well, yeah, he's like, kill me. He's like, I know I can't get back on the ship. They have quarantine protocols and stuff. So,
and what's crazy is the next like scene or after we find out that she's pregnant.
Yes, we do.
3 months pregnant.
She wasn't able to get pregnant. She was barren, right? Isn't that what they call it?
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't able to get pregnant. And then all of a sudden she's pregnant. According to David, 3 months pregnant. But
crazy.
3 months, they were in hypersleep. How is that possible? Oh, man.
Well,
what you got in there, Elizabeth? It's fucking Squidward.
out comes the true
it's this
face hugger.
Whole crazy thing where it's like she finds out, okay, oh shit, like this thing is growing inside of her. Like she got impregnated by a fucking alien, but like a different way,
right? Yeah,
than a face hugger.
She goes into a machine she finds earlier in the movie,
crazy.
which like is actually programmed to only help males.
Yeah, it's like a surgery thing.
Yeah, but she gets in it and she like it cuts open her stomach, it rips it out. She like disinfects the whole thing and tries to kill it.
Yep.
She gets away, but the thing actually doesn't die.
Well, first, so yeah, crazy ass scene. I will say that might be no, I can't say that because
it like lasers her stomach open and it just like rips it out.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
It's wild.
It's disgusting, but it's like
you can't not look away.
It is so insane. It is such a cool scene. But anyway, yeah. So she basically gives birth to a fucking Squidward. That's literally what it is. Fucking Squidward.
So, tentacles flying all
flapping around and shit.
When it's full size, holy cow.
Oh, I know. So then turns out David was doing some exploring by himself, and he finds that one of they call them engineers, but they're basically the creators of the human race. And he finds one still sleeping, like it's still just asleep. Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh shit, this is crazy. And so, then Elizabeth goes back and she finds that the Wayland dude is still alive and he's actually on the ship. He's Charlize's dad and all this kind of stuff. And then he's like, I'm trying to, basically what we said earlier, where he's trying to figure out the answers to, immortality and all this kind of stuff and why they created them and why they left them and all this kind of stuff. And then, Elizabeth is like, well, what the fuck? And then they all go and they wake up the engineer, and the engineer is, he's just hanging out, just, he's waking up. And then all of a sudden he goes full on fucking berserk and just like rips off David's head.
Yep.
Milk everywhere. And then he kills the Wayland dude. He kills a couple other people. And then he goes...
He tries and chases Elizabeth, right?
Yeah. And then he gets in the donut ship, which I guess the dome really was the ship. But he starts doing his little stuff, like in the control room. And then it, rises up and starts taking off. And so Elizabeth... Doesn't she... What the fuck happens? Because doesn't she go... How do they get back on the ship? No, that's later, isn't it? Yeah, that's later.
I think so.
Idris Elba is actually in the movie. Should have said that. He's the captain, and I love his character. But as you do, right?
He sacrifices.
Yes. Yeah. So the ship is going. It's going to basically disperse the virus to Earth. Mm-hmm. So the virus that's supposed to kill all these people, and what it did to the one doctor earlier.
Right. They're supposed to take out the entire race of humans.
Yes. So while the ship is flying off, Idris Elba is like, fuck it, we ball. And then he flies the ship right into it. It starts crashing. And then when it does crash, they shoot the space pod out, or Charlize's room out, which is technically a ship in its own. And then that's the one
it crashes
the med pod or whatever.
Planet.
Crashes on the planet, smushes Charlize, and then Elizabeth is left. And then
Which is also a crazy scene when it's rolling towards her. I'm like, why don't you just run sideways? Because
it's not cinematic, dude.
I know, but it's just like rolling through them. They're like, go, go, go. And you're like, just turn right or left. Literally. And you wouldn't even have a problem.
It's true. So,
but then it did tip towards her. Yeah. She got saved by that rock.
Yes, she did. So she gets out. She's like, okay, I'm going to get on the ship. And then David is still on the ship. He's just ahead now. And he's like, hey, Elizabeth, like, you know.
He's like comforting her.
Yeah. He's like, you know, you're good. He's like, come help me. So then she gets back to her little ship. She's about to fly off. And then here comes the engineer. He's still alive. Busts through that door. Fucking starts throwing her around just like how the one AI did to Ripley in the first movie. And then she's like, you know what? My kid is in that next room. Fuck you. So she hits the button, door opens. Here comes big ass Squidward. I'm talking, this man was on steroids.
He fills the whole room.
Oh yeah. He's got, you know, big meaty fucking tentacles. And he just wraps around the engineer, starts throwing him around and shit. Then he ties him up. All of a sudden, here comes like his mouth opens up and then this little straw comes out. By straw, I mean, it looks like a dick, and it just like they do. And you go, oh my God, that looks familiar. This is the first face hugger.
Just 30 times bigger.
And like a squid instead of like a spider. So,
but it gets the engineer.
Gets him. So then you're like, oh shit, well, he's dead, right? It got him. And then, yeah, the Squidward dies too, because face hugger serves its purpose. That's it. So Elizabeth, she dips out. She gets in the ship, like the donut ship with David, and then they basically fly off. They want to go see the rest of the species, the engineer species, and that's it. And then
that's where it ends.
Well, then there's the little like scene where the engineer, again, it wouldn't be an alien movie without a chest bursting scene. So they show the engineer, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, and then it comes out, and it's not a xenomorph, it's a demomorph or some shit.
It's what's in the next movie, right?
Yeah, the little like pale ones. Yeah, those with like the weird head.
Right.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah. So yeah, and then that's where it ends. Cool, right?
So, wild movie.
Prometheus.
I do like it.
You liked Prometheus?
I did, dude. I really did.
Yeah.
It's a little aged because of CGI, but I thought the
CGI was great.
It was pretty good. Yeah. It was pretty good.
Yeah. No, I like it too. What would you give it?
An 8.
An 8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will probably also give it an 8. Now,
what is it, 10 years later?
Well, really quick, I want to give a fun fact.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Fun fact about Prometheus. This is the coolest one that I found. The composer, Mark Streitenfeld, apologies if I pronounce that wrong, but he basically had he made his stuff, right? Like the film score. And he actually had the orchestra play it backwards, and then they put it forward. So it sounded a little off.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's so weird.
Yeah. So they played it forward or backward, like a forward song backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then they redid the backwards to play forward. So it just sounded like a bit off, which is super cool, I thought.
Just a little unsettling.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
So
what a think outside the box moment.
Yeah. I thought that was sweet. So then
10 years later.
Well, 10 movie years later, because it was 2017. So that's 5 years later.
No, I thought it was 10 years later in the movie.
10 years later, movie time.
Yeah.
Like their timeline.
Yeah,
right?
10 years, yeah. They come back 10 years later on a new mission.
Yes.
On the ship Covenant.
Yes. This one features a brand new cast. Danny McBride is on there, which is cool.
Great. I loved him on there.
Yeah, he was a good character.
Yeah.
So Danny McBride is on there, and then followed by a bunch of other people. This is when James Franco has his little.
Yeah, James Franco.
He doesn't survive the cryo sleep. He wakes up and it's just everything is on fire. He
starts burning.
He dies, and then you're like, who was that? Like you couldn't really see him, and then all of a sudden you see the flashback, and it's just one little thing, and it's James Franco.
When she's watching the video of him like climbing the mountain.
Yeah,
I actually thought that was a really cool scene.
It was cool, but that's it.
I know.
You don't see him again.
True.
So he's in a bunch of deleted scenes. He was supposed to be in the movie a bit more than that, but He wasn't. So there you go. James Franco's dead. Then
we get a new AI character.
It's also played by Michael Fassbender.
Yep.
This one is known as Walter, and he's a lot better.
A newer model.
Yep.
And he is definitely a lot nicer.
A lot nicer. They open up these solar panels or whatever Walter does, right? They're trying to recharge and they hit a solar storm or some shit. And then they get all fucked up. That's what kills James Franco, wakes up the crew. Then they go, okay, well, what the hell? Then they
get that signal.
They try to repair the solar panels. And then all of a sudden they get a transmission out there where it sounds like a song.
Country Road.
It is Country Roads Take Me Home. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, how can we hear John Denver out here? Like, who the fuck? Like, what the hell?
Exactly.
So they trace the signal back. They find out, oh, it's a planet like Earth. We still have 7 years. We'd have to get back into cryosleep, which has to be a pain in the ass. So they get back into cryosleep. You know, they're like, all right, we either do that for 7 more years or we do like a 2-week trip and get to this other planet and just see where it, like what it is.
Right. Investigate, you know?
And so they do. They choose that despite the warning from the main girl. Forget her name. Fuck. But they.
The like AI ship lady?
What? No, the girl. The main girl.
Oh.
Yeah. She was in like Fantastic Beasts and shit.
Yeah. I thought you meant the ship gave the warning. I was like, did it?
No, she did. Remember, she sat down with the captain and she's like, hey. So the captain was stubborn. He's tripping about how people aren't going to trust him and stuff like that. So then they go to the planet. A couple of them stay up top because there's a big ass storm. Some other ones take this ship down and then they split into a couple groups. The one girl.
Yeah, they're just investigating.
Yeah, they're just checking out the planet, right? And then all of a sudden, one of the guys steps on a little sack of something and a bunch of little things come up and go into his ear.
Yep.
So then there's that. Then another guy steps on the same sack where he touches it or something and then it goes into his nose.
Yep.
Now, what I do love is how they both went into different entry points and then the aliens come out in different entry points, which is kind of sick. It's like, whoa, that's cool. So the 2 guys get sick. They all try to come back to the ship, but the one group, which is the captain's wife and the guy who's sick, they get back to the ship first. And the other girl there, that's
the captain's wife, locks the girl and the dude in the infirmary.
Captain's wife the captain is on the planet. It's not Danny McBride. He's the captain of like the ship, but not the crew.
True. So the captain of the ship's wife.
Yes.
She traps him in the infirmary.
Yes. Danny McBride's wife is freaking out. The one dude who's sick starts like freaking the fuck out. He's like having a seizure. And then
something starts coming out his back.
Starts popping out of his back. It's a whole thing. And then that's a gross fucking scene, dude. I think anytime you're in like a white room and there's blood or like something, it looks, this is going to sound morbid, but it looks so cool. When the aliens like flopping around and there's blood, just like, you're just like, whoa. I don't know. It's a white background makes everything look cooler. It makes colors pop out.
True. So. She's freaking out. She goes and grabs a shotgun.
Yeah. And then the other girl's just getting fucked up in the med bay. She's just, getting, the thing is just, it's a little like one of the,
it's like almost like a worm looking thing again.
It's like a mix between the worm thing and like the xenomorph, right? It's one of the ones that came out of the engineer or whatever. Yeah. So, that thing's fucking the captain's wife up, and then Danny McBride's wife is like, oh shit. So she opens the door and she's going to shoot it. And then she slips on blood. She fucking shoots the ceiling, leaves the shotgun in there. She's fucking trying to leave. She accidentally shuts the door on her leg. So then she's limping as she's walking out. She grabs another shotgun. The thing comes running out. She starts shooting at it. Missing every shot.
Oh my God.
Then she shoots one of the fucking like the oil things or the fuel things. And then it just blows up the whole ship. So they're dead.
Literally in a matter of minutes, she kills everybody on board.
Yeah. So they're just all fucked. So could have been handled so much better, but I guess, she wasn't trained for that, right?
She wasn't, and she was
colony mission. Exactly. So they're not trained for this, right? It's not
they were just trying to find a new place to build a
they
new
have a
life.
bunch of colonists on board, a bunch of embryos on board, like a whole thing. So then all of a sudden the other guys are coming back, and then the one guy, he falls, gets sick, and he starts having a seizure, and the thing fucking comes out of his mouth. So gross. And then well, that's just kind of it. They all just kind of get fucked up.
And
one guy loses his jaw.
They killed the thing, and then basically
David loses his hand. Or not David. Walter loses his hand.
And then they're watching the exploded ship, freaking out. And then they get attacked again.
Well, the flare.
Well, they get attacked again by the bigger one.
Yeah.
And then that's when the guy comes in flares.
Yeah.
And then he's like, follow me.
Yeah. And you find out then, who is it? Who's under the cloak? Oh my God, it's fucking David, right?
David's been surviving for 10 years.
He's like, and he tells him Dr. Shaw is dead, all that, kind of stuff. And then Walter and him, like, he's trying to basically love Walter. He's trying to be like, you're my brother kind of thing. Walter's not having it though.
They do kiss.
Well, David kisses Walter. Do you see that look on his face? Dude, it's like, pretend this is fucking David, and Walter's just like,
I know. It was awkward as hell.
What the fuck? So he teaches him how to play the flute. He says, I'll do the fingering.
Words. It's funny.
And then,
it's funny.
Oh shit. And then
watch out.
Yeah, I don't know if they just have a little bit
and then
of
you start to figure out slowly over time, like, what is David doing?
David actually went to that planet with all the engineers, did the virus on them, so they all got that scene was great. They all got
whole race
fucked up. They were like,
he took one of those giant donut ships and dropped the virus on all of them.
Yeah, so we got to see the virus on like
it just melted them away.
It was horrible. And then you find out David is a really bad guy. So he's been spending the last 10 years on this planet trying to
mutating.
He's trying to basically create the perfect specimen. He likes to create life. And they all start kind of getting fishy with him. And then the captain goes into the room where there's a bunch of eggs, like the eggs, like they're not the kind of like off-brand eggs. He's like, these are eggs. They're harmless, whatever. Sure enough, the guy
he's like,
looks,
you can look inside.
The guy looks, boom, classic face hugger, gets on his face. Cool. Impregnates him. Then all of a sudden, that's it, dude. He starts just chest burst. And then we get our first classic xenomorph. And then there's a fight between David and Walter. You don't know which one of them wins. Looks like Walter wins. But we don't know who wins.
Yeah, because it cuts away.
Cuts away right at the end. And then
before we jump to the final scene, I thought a really cool aspect of the scene, like when we first see the first xenomorph, was when David kind of goes like this and it also copies him. That was wild.
It was cool.
It's like, I created this perfect thing and he's so excited about it. Yeah. Anyway, jump to after the cutaway.
There's only, a couple survivors left. Danny McBride comes down in like one of the landing ships or something. And then he picks up the one girl from Harry Potter or Fantastic Beasts. And then the Walter and then the one guy he basically got face hugged as well, but they cut it off and then there was acid on his face. So he's still alive. He's on the ship. And then they have a final showdown with the xenomorph. And then, after a really cool fight scene, in my opinion, she crushes it with the crane on the ship.
That was a really cool fight scene. Yeah. Like she's like swinging on that, like,
it's really cool.
Rappel rope.
Yep. And then after that, she, they're like, okay, it's fine. Cool.
Everything's good.
Everything's fine. And then the couple on the ship are just, taking a shower, hanging out. Then all of a sudden they're like, hey, come down to the med bay. Like the ship says that to the girl. I think her name is Daniels. It is Daniels, isn't it? Yeah, it's fucking Daniels. I just now remembered. Okay, anyway, it's Daniels. They're like, Captain Daniels, come down to because she's a captain now because the captain died. So they're like, Captain Daniels, come down to the med bay. So she goes down to check on the guy with the acid on his face. Well, it turns out the face hugger was on him long enough to impregnate him. So now there's a xenomorph on the ship.
Right.
Classic alien shit. So
can't go wrong with another alien on board.
Then my favorite scene is the shower scene from hell.
Oh my God.
The other couple are just making out, they're going to hook up right in the shower. You just survive some shit, whatever, Then all of a sudden they're just like, they're playing some music, they're making out. and then she feels like a tickle. And then she like kind of backs off and she looks up and then there's a fucking xenomorph behind him. Double mouth extends through his mouth. Fucking crazy. Then, yeah, they get fucked up.
Yeah, it cuts away. You don't see her die, though.
No, but I still think that whole scene where it's like you see the shadow coming behind like them. And then all of a sudden the fucking, yeah, I don't know. It's cool. And then, yeah, they fight. Danny McBride and her, they fight. Same with Walter. Because
he was like coordinating on the on the
but then
control system.
Jake mentioned it. He's like, why is he smirking here?
Yeah,
like,
he was literally like smirking when they
it's
were
weird.
like getting attacked, and
Yeah,
I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, what the fuck?
But
what's going on?
It was
Walter?
cool because how they took out the xenomorph was pretty sick.
Yeah,
with the car,
the truck, and the airlock again. Yeah, so they finally get the xenomorph done. That's cool. Whatever, and then. They go back into cryo sleep because they're going to go to the other planet.
Time to go back to sleep.
They tuck in Danny McBride, and then Walter's like, well, the whole time, the whole movie, Daniels is talking to Walter about this cabin on the lake that she's going to build and stuff. And then at the end, she's like,
because she was going to do it with her husband.
Yeah. And then he shuts her in the pod, and then she's like, wait, Walter, before we get to, like, when we get there, can you help me build my cabin? And he goes, like, what?
Yeah, he looked confused.
She looks at him and she's like, David, that he like does this creepy ass shit. He goes, shh, don't let the big bugs bite. I'll tuck in the children. You're like, what the fuck, David? So David, being evil as shit, puts her in cryosleep like she's done, and then he starts playing this fucking music, and then he's walking through this hallway looking at all the colonists. He pulls out the little embryos and he hawks up he regurgitates two face hugging like embryos, and he puts them in there, and then that's the end of the movie.
Wild.
Crazy. So what do you think of Alien Covenant?
I think it's an 8.4.
Yeah,
but I liked Prometheus better.
Personally, Alien Covenant is my favorite.
But
in the franchise.
It is such a good movie. It was. Yeah. It's just so well done. The story was great because who doesn't love a good origin story? And the acting was good. And
I just get hyped when I see the xenomorphs, and also the action. The kills are awesome.
The action in that movie was really cool. Yeah. And just like
even the fight scene between David and Walter was like fucking superhero shit. I was like, God damn.
When they're throwing each other over the wall, dude, you're like, holy fuck.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, I dug it. I think you need to watch Prometheus before you watch Alien Covenant for sure. Of course. Because you need to know, a lot of the shit. You pick up on a lot of the stuff. Also, David is in there. So,
yeah. But it gets us stoked for Romulus.
So we do know.
Here we go.
That Covenant, they were planning on doing another one after that to find out what happens to David and all this kind of stuff. But Disney bought Fox. So then they had to, they scrapped the plans. And that was it. True. So, shoot to now where they took a different turn with the franchise. So we might not ever know what happens to David and that whole thing, but we do know.
We know xenomorphs are a thing now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And so apparently Romulus takes place between Alien 1 and Aliens, like on the timeline.
Face huggers are back.
Yep. We can see that. It seems like there's going to be a big emphasis on face huggers, which will be kind of cool. And then it is also directed by Fede Alvarez, who did the 2013 Evil Dead, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
And Don't Breathe.
Which was also good. So I do trust this man. Also, Ridley Scott he watched it and he goes, it was fucking awesome. I think that was like literally his words. He was like, it's fucking incredible. Yep. So that's cool. Then I also looked up, are they just completely going to ignore everything about Prometheus and Alien Covenant? And I guess he said that he thinks that those were two movies that were rooted deep. They created an origin story, right? You can't just don't pretend like those don't exist. So he said that he's going to have some Easter eggs in there that will be, about Prometheus or Alien Covenant, but it's not going to be about like the same story.
Right.
So I'm so excited, dude.
Dude, literally the trailer is so good.
Yeah.
I've seen it 10, 15 times.
Yeah. There's so many fucking water.
The water scene is so cool. It's just a great use of red flashing alarm like in the water.
Yeah.
It's eerie, scary, and all of a sudden you're just like see this thing just bloop, plop in and take out this dude.
Yep.
Jumps on his face and he like somehow avoids the damn thing.
Yeah. The little straw.
But it's like going like that on his face.
Yeah,
you're like, oh shit.
It's cool, man. And then the best scene obviously in the whole trailer is when the one girl, she takes the X-ray thing and she's like feeling in her chest and she puts the X-ray thing like behind her and it shines this orange light inside, so you see her rib cage and stuff, and then you just see an alien like busting through the rib cage. And dude, that's so sick. I can't wait to see that shit.
Yeah, in the like split second you actually see the alien.
Yeah,
just right at the end.
Oh,
just like,
dude.
oh shit.
Yep.
They're building a lot of hype for the movie though.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a big thing because, well, look at these franchises that made a comeback. This is what I'm talking about. It's like the remakes that they've been coming out with lately, like Evil Dead Rise. Awesome.
Right.
Scream, when they came back with Scream 5 and then Scream 6. Awesome. They rebooted Halloween, the 2018 one. Awesome. The other two? Yeah. But
they started with something good.
They started with something good. So that's what I'm saying. Is like these remakes have been crazy. Prey is one of my favorite horror movies.
Such a good movie.
Sci-fi-ish horror movies.
You should watch it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Prey, go watch Prey.
Watch
it's
it.
So fucking good.
It's
the
so
time
good.
is awesome. Like the where it takes place. Like the
action
setting.
scenes are so sick.
The action scenes are cool. The Predator is sick as fuck. He's like a primal predator. So cool. And then, God, the film score is one of my favorite film scores, I think, in any movie. I'm not kidding. That and like Interstellar. But I think the film score, I was telling Jake, it was from the same girl who did some of the Assassin's Creed games. And I'm a big Assassin's Creed.
Because the Assassin's Creed scores are fantastic. Fantastic.
They're so epic. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a whole scene where
if you
she's
like
like walking
scores,
through the prairie.
be ready and watch that movie if you haven't.
Yeah.
Because it's good.
There's a whole scene at the beginning when she's walking through like the camp with like all the, her, tribe and stuff, or her village. And they're playing the film score, like the actual, and it's just, I get goosebumps every time. It's so good.
Fucking end scene though, when she's just carrying that.
Oh my God,
that's epic, bro.
Yeah, so go watch Prey if you haven't yet.
It's good.
But the point is, I think like I'm ready for Alien to make that jump, to make the good remake.
Well, we're gonna see.
And you
I'm
guys
excited.
hopefully are too.
Yeah, like Cal said earlier, we're gonna post a review after we watch it because we're watching it opening day.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too.
One thing we forgot to mention earlier, and you might have noticed the whole show, but look what we're wearing.
Oh yeah, we did totally forget. By the way, these are our first hoodies, so we'll have them in hoodie form.
Comfortable.
They are insanely comfortable, guys.
I'm not just saying that.
It's not just like we're just saying that shit. Like I literally saw it.
We will hype our own merch 100%. But this is such a comfortable hoodie.
I don't think I'm gonna hype my own merch. If I think a design looks shit, then I'm gonna just actually say that.
Well, we won't wear shit.
We won't publish it. Or like we won't put it out if I think it's shit.
But we got t-shirts,
super
and we got
simple
hoodies
design,
right now.
Super cool. Working on some more stuff. But yeah, I'm not going to put out something that I think is dog shit.
Hell no.
Yeah. So
no.
If we're wearing it, I do think it looks cool.
Be ready. We're going to try and get these out to you guys soon.
Yes.
But they're finally done. So.
Yes.
And more to come. So
we'll announce it obviously on our socials and stuff like that. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok now, because we will be posting reviews for movies and things like that on.
Yeah, we're expanding our content a bit.
Yeah, we would like to not just have like only reels
of the episode. Give you a little more.
If you guys
content.
are already watching the episode, then you're gonna
see it.
You're gonna see it regardless.
Yeah, we're gonna post reviews. We're gonna post like some of our top movies. That we're into maybe that month or the year.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. A bit long of an episode. It is. It's a bit long. So.
That's all right.
But I do hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about the Alien franchise, because it is a good one. It has influenced a lot of horror. The cosmic horror genre is big. I like, movies like Annihilation and stuff like that. Those all kind of originated back to the very first Alien, right? So yeah, it's awesome. Not all of them were hits.
It's true.
They definitely tried some experimental shit, but
gotta try new things.
Hey,
sometimes they fail, sometimes they don't.
I am excited. The Xenomorph is one of the most classic, iconic creatures in any kind of movie that you could possibly know. Like, seriously. So yeah, I'm excited for Alien Romulus. Hope you guys are too. Also, comment down below if you think that Romulus is the name of the ship.
Because that's what we think.
Because that's what we definitely think. So
yeah. Well, thanks again, guys. We appreciate everything you've done for us so far.
Yes. It's been huge.
It's been a great episode. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Also, to end this episode, in the words of David, don't let the bed bugs bite. I'll tuck in the children.
Thanks for listening to this chilling episode of The Supernaturals. For your protection, make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And stay tuned for the next episode.